I'm sorry. I feel bad for defensive coaches, but I got to maximize those guys at all costs. If you're in top five, especially, Justin was a little bit lower, so I guess you can debate it more. But you got to have your whole organization going in one direction to make sure you maximize the abilities of that quarterback. We just talked about Wilson and Trey Lance. Um, and the Colts, I think, at least have gone about it the right way to put Shane Steichen around them and do about it that way. So we'll see, but he's very raw. And it's pretty evident.
So would you suggest that the Houston Texans are also fated for failure because they got a defense?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it that way. It doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me. But I guess there's other way to do things. But we've already been through it. We got Ed Kracz. We can bump up Ed and get him in the conversation. We've already been through this with Carson Wentz, and the early success of Carson Wentz. The Eagles had this. They called it the quarterback incubator at the time. They had Peterson and Frank Reich and John DiFilippo and even Press Taylor. And now they've done it with Jalen Hurts, a different quarterback, and surrounded him with all these quarterback minds, whether it's Sirianni and Steichen and Brian Johnson, and now it's Kevin Patullo and Alex Tanney. Kevin's always had a big role. Alex Tanney, obviously former NFL quarterback. They got these guys surrounded with so many good coaches to elevate quarterbacks. Maybe I'm biased because I've seen it happen twice with the Eagles, and obviously Carson fell off. But that's the way you should do it. Ed, did you hear any of that?
A little bit, yeah, yeah, I did.
Quarterbacks helping quarterbacks along. I said I don't agree. I wouldn't hire a defensive head coach if I had to elevate a young quarterback. That's not the way I'd go about it. Am I nuts?
Not at all. I mean, look at Robert Saleh with the Jets. I mean, Zach Wilson, he couldn't develop him or whoever his underlings were. I had to bring in Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, I think an offensive mind helps. I heard you say with Anthony Richardson having Shane Steichen there and Jim Bob Cooter. He's got some.
Forgot about Jim Bob.
Yeah, the offensive coordinator. I mean, he's got some guys there. Obviously, Steichen did a terrific job with Jalen Hurts. There was a lot of people involved with Hurts, but yeah, Steichen likes what he has in Richardson. I talked to him off the record. He's always good off the record. Caught up with him on Tuesday, and he had a lot of impressive things to say about Anthony Richardson. So there's going to be growing pains, and even he admitted that there'll be some times where you'll wonder, like, what the heck's he doing? But he's got a lot of tools, and he's got the right guys in place. Now, if you brought a defensive coach in, could Gus Bradley, their defensive coordinator in Indianapolis, would he be able to develop someone like Anthony Richardson? Probably not as well, but it depends who you bring in to be your quarterback coach and your offensive coordinator and your passing game consultant. I mean, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen here when it comes to talk about developing a young quarterback.
So did you get a chance to talk off the record with Gardner Minshew and see if he's taken his diuretics since he can start thinking about number twos again, because he's going to be number 2 in Indianapolis? I'm just wondering about the physical.
Gardner. I did see Gardner, by the way. Good guy, Gardner.
Did not
out
talk
there,
to him.
But good guy. Yeah.
But here's an interesting story about Gardner is when we were sitting in the media tent talking to Nick Sirianni, Minshew took the field with a couple of former teammates with the Eagles. He came out with them, and then I looked and I followed him, and it looked like he was going to start running with his former teammates onto the Eagles side of the practice field. And then he suddenly made a sharp left, like an ACL type sharp cut where you could tear that ligament. Nice. I mean, that's how sharp it was. I mean, it was almost like he forgot that he was with the Colts, and he was caught up in the moment, and he was ready to take the field with his friend. He made the sharp left. I watched him do all that as I'm trying to listen to Sirianni, but he's an interesting cat, Gardner Minshew.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he
Yes,
is.
he is.
He's
I didn't see the camper in the parking lot, so I assume he took the flight with the Colts. But
yeah.
well, since we went down, we haven't talked about Gardner that much. Better backup quarterback, Ed Kracz, Gardner Minshew or Marcus Mariota?
Well, probably Gardner Minshew at this point. I mean, Mariota's been just too inconsistent. I mean, he looks good some days in practice when we
He
saw
can
him.
still run, but I don't like
He
the
can still
accuracy.
run. Yeah, but his accuracy is not there. His comfortability is not there. But listen, the Eagles went what 0-2 with Minshew filling in last year. I mean, Mariota can do that.
Well, he can do that. But to be fair, and I say, like, he played really poorly against the Saints.
Yeah.
No excuses there. But he played well enough to win against the Cowboys. So other people got to elevate at that point. That's what you're hoping for from your backup, to play well enough so you can make a play or two and maybe win a game. He did that in one of those two games, but the Eagles had a bad defensive game in Dallas against the Cowboys. Can Marcus do that? I
think he can. I think he can. I think, if you're looking at two games, you would think he's going to play half decently in one. And like you said, other people have to elevate. Quez Watkins did not elevate. He stands out last year.
Not. Yeah.
Minshew came in. So yeah, you have to have your people around you to be able to make plays above and beyond to help your backup quarterback out. I think Mariota's, I think he'll be fine. You hope this will be the season. Hurts plays all 17.
You hope, yeah.
Hasn't happened yet for him. But if you need Mariota in a small sample, a couple games, 2 games maybe, I think he can win you one of those games, maybe both. I'm not as down maybe on him as some others. McKee's doing it with second and third team guys, so it's a little bit different. I'd like to see them start McKee tonight against the Colts. Again, he'll be going against second and third team guys, but at least he'll know what it's like to start a football game. I don't think that'll happen. I think Mariota will still see some series, but I'm fine with Mariota as the backup. I'm not, let's go get Nick Foles crazy, or let's bring Carson Wentz back.
Let's get Trey Lance.
Trey Lance now. Everybody that becomes available is always linked to the Eagles.
Yeah, well, we got to get to JT because he was there. But
before we get to JT, because thank you for leading in, I want to ask Eddie a running back question. I asked John earlier about how they're going to handle who the other safety is. Is it going to be a rotational position? Last year it surely wasn't. How about the other starting linebacker? Of course, could it be rotational? Last year it wasn't. It was Kazir White for almost every single snap. So John suggested that they'd like to do it the same as they did it last year. That Fangio defense, they would prefer to have just one guy. But until that guy establishes that he's the guy, it might not happen. Let me go over to the offense. Running back. Last year, you had a running back that had, I think I did the math, if memory serves me, about 78 or 79% of the carries. The running back, not quarterback runs, but running back carries. Miles Sanders had almost 80% of the Eagles' carries at running back. John keeps telling me that in the high leverage situations, it's Kenny Gainwell. They've got him out there on the field, but they don't do from 20 to 20 type work at practice. But last year when they did that, it was Miles Sanders to the tune of almost 80%. If the only given that we know right now is Kenny Gainwell high leverage, is there a chance that Kenny Gainwell steps into Miles Sanders' role and is taking 75% of the running back carries this year, Ed Kracz?
I think he's going to be given the opportunity to prove he can be a lead back. Yeah, but there could be a short leash if he's not getting it done in the first couple games. They have a pretty deep backfield. They knew what they had in Miles Sanders, and it was a weird dynamic. I remember Kenny Gainwell had, I think, his rookie year, I think he had 5 or 6 rushing touchdowns his rookie season. And then last year they went to Miles Sanders in that situation after he struggled the year before when Gainwell was scoring those touchdowns. And Sanders responded with 11 touchdowns, I think, rushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
he
mean,
had a great year, Miles.
he had a terrific year. I don't think Kenny Gainwell's can be that back, to be honest. I mean, maybe they use him to start out in high leverage situations, and maybe they use somebody else from between the 20s. John and I talked about this. Maybe there's another back they put in there. They mix in with that, like at DeAndre Swift. I just don't know how you can keep DeAndre Swift, parked on the bench for long periods of time. I think it's going to be more of a mix and match backfield. Maybe Gainwell does get more opportunities down by the goal line. I like, Rashad Penny's been a tough guy to figure out. But to me, he would be kind of a good goal line guy. I think he's good in short yardage situations.
He's got
but
the size.
Yeah, I don't know how they feel about him, though. I'm even wondering if maybe they cut him and Trey Sermon and just go with 3 running backs. I'm trying to piece together this roster, and
here it is. I'll get Elliott. Elliott does stats at training camp, which are meaningless except for who's getting the work. So he compiled the first team carries for the running backs throughout the entire camp, Ed. And here's what it is: Gainwell 32, Scott 16, Swift 11, Penny 8, Sermon 5. That's pretty glaring. I knew Kenny was always out there in big situations. I've been talking about it on the show for weeks. Jody knows that, but I didn't think it was that dramatic, to be honest. It's dramatic. And
yeah, but let me jump in here. Did they tackle to the ground afterwards?
No.
Then what are you really learning? I understand who's getting them. You want to read between. You're not really evaluating.
You're not practicing
running plays.
No, it's not evaluation. He might go into the regular season and crap the bed, but you're not practicing who you're going to use. In other words, if they thought Rashad Penny was going to be the lead back, he's not getting 8 first team reps, carries. He's getting them all with the second team. He got 23. He led the second team carries. In other words, I'm not saying it's a definite. It doesn't correlate to success, but it correlates to what the Eagles are planning.
Mindset.
To do.
I hear you.
And Penny got a lot of reps against the Ravens, I think, right? Didn't he carry the ball like 9 times?
Yeah.
He's getting a lot of work in the preseason. He'll probably get more work tonight against the Colts. I just don't know how they feel about him. And it's interesting, those stats, I guess they're as accurate as they can be. During training camp, it's hard to keep an eye on everything.
Especially in the joint practices.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
Those are very unofficial, but
yeah, they're pretty raw. But listen, I mean, I thought it was pretty obvious. They went to Gainwell quite a bit in camp. I think he's going to be the guy. And unless they bring in Jonathan Taylor, and then what happens?
Ding, 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 ding. Thank you for going there, Ed Kracz. It's all irrelevant because Jonathan Taylor is going to be an Eagle in the next 24, 48, 72, week and a half, 4 weeks, 9 months, 2 years. Some point he's going to become an Eagle. When is it happening, Ed Kracz?
Well, didn't the Colts put a deadline on trading him as Tuesday? That's when they want to trade him now.
By the way, I don't even think the Colts want to trade him.
No,
on top of it, I didn't even.
They're asking for a first-round pick. Yeah. They know they're not going to get that. If they wanted to trade, Jonathan Taylor, they would ask for a second round pick, or maybe a third-round pick. They're not going to get a first-round pick for Jonathan Taylor. Just no way. I mean, the guy was a second-round pick. They took Jonathan Taylor, the Colts did, 12 or 13 places before Jalen Hurts went off the board in that draft. And now the Colts finally have their quarterback. I mean, they needed a quarterback back then. They started 5 different quarterbacks in 5 years, and they took a running back. They're not going to get a first-round pick for him. They'll ask for that, and maybe that's why, because they don't want to deal him. Now, maybe at the trade deadline, when the Colts are sitting here with 4 wins or whatever it's going to be, a pretty low total, then maybe they try to trade him and get what they can get. If he's still, I don't even know if he'll be playing if he stays in Indianapolis.
Yeah, by the way, when's the trade deadline? Anybody know off the top of their head? I don't.
Halloweenish.
Yeah, it's like November 1st.
Generally speaking, eight weeks in, somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah.
If that's the number, Colts are 1-7. They're not going to be 4 wins. 4 wins, they'd be 4-4. That'd actually be pretty good. I think
know,
Shane
you're
be up
right.
for Coach of the Year honors if he's got the Colts at 4-4 after 8 weeks. Oh no, they're going to be 1-7.
No, I overvalued it. I forgot. Yeah, the trade deadline's like.
Well, you just should have said en route to 4 wins if they're going to be a 4
overall. Yes, that's
there.
More
You
likely.
go. That's what I should have said. But that you're right. The Colts are going to have a low win total, and maybe they trade him then because they'll try to get something for him. Right? I think he's a free agent after this year. Does he have? I think he has 1 more year left.
Yeah, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option.
1 more year.
So listen, the Eagles are always, in the conversation when a big player's out there, right? I mean, Howie's always out there stoking the fire, making it known he's talking.
Well, that's why it's easy to say they were there. It's easy to say Howie inquired because he certainly did. He always does.
I think every general manager should be inquiring.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you're doing your job.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't see the valuation for the Eagles. They don't value the running back as high as most teams do, as some teams do, I should say. The whole position itself is so undervalued. Taylor certainly is a top 5 back in this league. But I think the Eagles are set. When it's tough to bring an offensive player in at this stage of the game, I think, because of the playbook situation. And maybe it's easier on the defensive side of the ball to bring a guy in late.
They had success with CJ. Maybe that emboldens them.
Defensive side, though, again, you're talking about an offensive playbook that's thick, hard to get through. Maybe Taylor has some familiarity with it. From, I guess, him and Sirianni may have been together. Or maybe not.
No, the similarity would be the fact that Steichen's head coach, and he may have things that are similar to what the Eagles.
Well, there's all these things, people speculate because Nick was there with Taylor and Shane knows the Eagles running back. So I saw Kenny Gainwell in a second. Everybody speculates as if Nick Sirianni has any power personnel here or Shane Steichen has any power to handle Chris Ballard there, which is not the case. So I'll throw this way. So I'll try to make the Eagles fans happy. He's from Salem, New Jersey. Let's say he wants to play for the Philadelphia Eagles to go after a Super Bowl. He's willing to play out his rookie deal. He doesn't want to be top of the market. He doesn't want Christian McCaffrey money. He's just here to chase a ring. Does that change anything, Ed Kracz?
Yeah, I probably, if he's telling Howie that behind closed doors, then maybe that changes things. But I don't see it. I think Taylor wants his money. I don't think he cares where he plays. It was the same with Swift. I mean, he's a hometown kid. Why don't just bring back all the hometown guys? John Reddick, bring them all back. Pay him a discount.
Zaire Franklin, bring Zaire back after.
He'd be the best linebacker on this team. Are you kidding?
Oh, by far. Yeah.
And oh, by the way, he and Kelsey would hug it out. I don't think there's.
They like each other,
even though they kind of went verbally at each other the other day.
Yeah.
They'd hug it out in a minute, and they'd be perfectly fine. Here's how John's scenario. Love you trying, John. Could actually happen. The only way that happens is if, and I'm sure Jonathan Taylor's agent has been doing his due diligence. If he got permission to seek a trade, that means he's probably called, been in contact with someone from every organization, hopefully all the general managers. If they're 0 for 31 with the other teams, that the other 31 teams told them, we just want Jonathan for 1 year. We're not offering any kind of contract extension. Sorry, but not happening. If that's the case, then where would he want to land knowing that you're just playing this year singing for your supper? Sure, Philadelphia Eagles, come home, legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Of course they're at the top of the list. But if there's anyone else out there who's saying, we go $450 million and guaranteed 35. That's where he's going to land. If the Colts are giving him that kind of latitude to dictate to them who he's going to be traded to, he's going to go where the money is. He's going to go for himself. And I don't know if his agent feels this way at all or not. Some people expect guys to do things for the good of others. He needs to try and raise the value of running backs in the National Football League. The Eagles aren't going to be the team that does that. Is there any team out there? Do you think that will the Dolphins do that, John and Ed? Since you've both brought up the fact that a team has been named, it has been the Dolphins. You think they'll give him that kind of a contract?
They're in salary cap
perspective. Yeah.
Well, they're in a lot of they have salary cap issues. I think they're already 32 million over the cap going into 2024 season. So that'd be hard for the Dolphins to do. Now, the Bears could be
the Bears were the other team that went there. They're in much better salary cap position.
Yeah, I think the Bears, and
it makes sense for the Bears because they need help for a young quarterback. With the
I think the Bears will make a ton of sense. You have you're building that team. You have what they think is a franchise quarterback in Fields. I think the Bears could afford to pay that kind of money. And who could blame the running backs these days for trying to get as much as they can? The way their position's undervalued, they only have this short shelf life. In theory, 4 or 5 years, and then you're getting underpaid. Like Ezekiel Elliott in New England, 28 years old. He has to take an undermarket deal to go to the Patriots to keep playing. He's only 28. Who can blame Taylor for trying to get the best deal? Who cares where he plays? I think money is probably the biggest motivating factor for a lot of these athletes.
And I agree with you. And that's why Jonathan Taylor isn't going to be in Philadelphia, because he's not. He's got to go. Especially at that position. Ed's right. You've got to seize the moment when you have an opportunity to seize the moment, because you're going to get shut down in the upcoming years, no matter how well you play. Because of the nature of how the league views that position. So, all right, let's close the ball.
I'm okay with that on Taylor. I'm okay. They don't have to bring him in, and I saw the light when I was really pounding the drum for Bijan Robinson in the draft. But, thinking about it more, they have Jalen Hurts that's going to run the ball. They don't need this running back to carry 20 times a game. So I'm fine with them not getting Taylor.
And I haven't even gotten to the Hurts point. I used to bring it up all the time during Bijan 365, that era. I said they don't need it. He elevates running backs, Jalen Hurts, with his ability to manipulate spacing. So the Eagles will be fine no matter what they go with at the running back position. It'd be nice to have a great player, but you can't have an all-pro at every position. It just doesn't work that way. Speaking of a position where they don't have all pros, although who knows, Reed Blankenship has been so good in camp. Who knows what his ceiling is? But if I told you September 10th, Ed Kracz, who's going to line up opposite Reed Blankenship in Foxborough at safety, your answer is?
Yeah, I think it's still going to be Edmonds. I think Terrell Edmonds, just because of his experience, although they really are starting to see what they have in Justin Evans. It's kind of a scary thing. And John, I know you pursued this line of questioning with Nick Sirianni and Sean Desai.
Didn't go too far.
Yeah, well, but it was a valiant effort. At this stage of summer, we're almost at the end of August here, and you're still trying to figure out who your best players are. I mean, is that a good thing? I mean, to me, this offense, this explosive offense that we're supposed to see this year, and I do think it will be explosive, they're going to have to carry this team. I just don't think this defense is going to be ready to start the season and be in, the best shape that it might be as the season goes on. I think this defense is still going to take some time to figure out, and the safety position is a case in point. Like, who is it going to be? I mean, are they going to mix and match guys next to Reed? That's what they've been doing all summer long. Do you default to the Terrell Edmonds because he has that experience and that knowledge? I mean, that's what I think they'll do. But Justin Evans is certainly somebody tonight against the Colts who is on my must-watch list. I mean, I don't know how good he is in pass coverage. Maybe we'll see some of that tonight. But in run defense, I think he's very good. He'll come up and stick his nose in there, as will Sidney Brown and Kayvon Wallace. But, Justin Evans to me is an interesting, hard charger here late in summer. Maybe he can somehow find a way into that starting lineup. I'd be surprised. I think it's going to be Edmonds just based on his experience.
I need to apologize here because we're an hour and 45 minutes in the Birds 365. And there's a name I haven't mentioned. We've mentioned Jonathan Taylor way too much, Trey Lance way too much. We have yet to mention Freddie Swain. the biggest addition to the Philadelphia Eagles, signed yesterday off the scrap heap after being released. Guy who's been around the league the last couple of years as a wide receiver, has gotten some gameplay and some stats put on the board for other teams. I know you wrote about him for SI, Ed. Fred Swain, a factor for the Philadelphia Eagles this year.
Again, he's on the offensive side of the ball. It's hard to come in this late in the game and try to play catch up here on August 24th. I mean, I'm sure we'll see him tonight. Maybe we'll see him return punts. I mean, they signed him. He hasn't even had a practice. I guess he probably went through the walkthrough on Wednesday. But that's not the same.
I hate to say it, but preseason week 3, crash test dummy. Bring in these guys.
Probably so. And maybe he's a guy that they want to take a quick look at in case, maybe they want to put him on the practice squad. Maybe a guy that you elevate. But he's a punt returner, and the Eagles need a punt returner. I mean, Britton Covey, to me, is not a stone-cold lock to make this roster.
He isn't anymore because he's not on the field.
He's been hurt. He's been hurt the whole camp. And like we say, you can't make the club in the tub. So he's a guy that you wonder about. They've used Zacchaeus, the great and powerful Oz, as a punt returner.
And Greg Ward's hurt too. So
Greg Ward's hurt.
Been out. Yeah.
They have a couple injuries there. Quez, obviously, with the hammy, and Covey, too. So, maybe they're auditioning him as a punt returner to get them through the first couple weeks of the season until they can figure it out. Because I think you probably could – and listen, I like Covey a whole lot as a person, but maybe you can release him and get him to the practice squad and then put him on IR. I mean, this hamstring thing he's been struggling with it really since after the first week of camp. So that, to me, hurts his chances. So, listen, Swain might be more than a crash test dummy. Maybe he's a guy that maybe he's going to be the punt returner. Who knows?
I'll tell you what surprised me more, not Freddie Swain, Fred Johnson. Getting released.
I know. Surprise.
He was getting second-team reps all of a sudden. Some people even speculated he might be in the mix for the 53 because they need some bodies of depth. The depth isn't as impressive as it typically is on the offensive line. And all of a sudden he gets cut. Now, Fred's a veteran, so it could be one of those things. I saw Jeff McClain put something about he might be back soon, and it could be paperwork. What the hell, though? I'm trying to think, why would it be paperwork? Why? What about Fred Johnson? Could they be cutting him to bring him back at a little bit to make $100,000? Are they down? That seems strange to me because there's a bunch of guys they could have cut. They got 90 people. There's a bunch of guys we know that are not going to make this football team.
Yeah, my first thought was, and please shoot me down if I'm off base here, they like the guy and they're trying to do the right thing by him. They don't see him in their mix and they want to give him a chance to come with another team.
I don't know why the
Eagles play tonight. Now, most of the teams play Saturday. There's a couple on Friday and most of them on Saturday. If he lands with a team tomorrow, kind of like Swain walks in, makes a walkthrough, and then can get into pads and play in that exhibition game, were they trying to do the right thing by him to let him land with another team maybe?
I don't know what's going on there. I really don't, because
the weird thing is the Eagles didn't put anything out that they released him, unless I missed it. That was something that was on the, the camp wires, the waiver wire. The Eagles didn't announce that. And they, to my knowledge, unless I missed it.
They didn't. Yeah.
They still haven't. So, that to me is strange. They're the first ones to put out any roster moves that they make. And for them to just not do anything with Fred Johnson, you had to be really paying attention to know that he got cut. It is weird, especially when you look at some of the other offensive line that the Eagles have released, and they get picked up pretty quickly. Trevor Reed, a guy that was in camp for a while, he got snatched up. I mean, guys they cut on
Jim
that.
Aracafor got snatched up. Remember him?
Yeah,
he was here for a week.
Jim, yeah, sure, he got picked up. I mean, these are popular guys. So to say, we're trying to do the right thing and pay him a little bit less money to bring him back, that's a big risk. I mean, they could lose him here in the next 24 hours to another team.
That's one of the things, though, because he is vested. He's a veteran. He's played a little bit in his career. he doesn't have to go through waivers, so you can do that wink kind of thing with him versus putting somebody through waivers and perhaps losing them. But from the perspective, I'm looking, he's played 28 NFL games. He's been with Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay. He started 8. Not a guy a lot of people know, but he makes like 1.1 million. And I think they can they can't love him that much if they're trying to knock $100,000 off his salary. That's kind of a bull bleep move, if you ask me.
Yeah,
but I don't know what's going on.
Lane Johnson came out last week and kind of
talked him up.
Said Jack Driscoll is the most improved lineman this year, coming back with, he's refined his game, this and that. And then he threw out Fred Johnson's having a great camp. I mean, so you think, okay, maybe the guy's got a shot. And then Howie's like, no, not so fast. He cuts him. I don't know. Maybe he's
coming back, though. I think he's coming back. And I can't figure out why. I can't figure out why they did it the way they did it. But we'll see.
And then to not announce it, to not send out any sort of a notification that that's what they did. I mean, to me, it's almost like they're trying to hide the fact that he's gone so they can bring him back.
Not the Eagles hiding.
Jonathan Taylor, Freddie Swain, Fred Johnson, all of them are basically irrelevant. Let's cut to the chase, Ed Kracz. Most important question you'll be asked today. When they flipped the coin tonight and the Eagles won, are they taking the football or are they deferring?
I say they take the ball. Take the
ball for Tanner
You want to
McKee.
keep it out of Anthony Richardson's hand. That's why you tell. Don't you want to test the defense against Anthony Richardson?
They will. I mean, they'll come to it. But why not take a 7-0 lead and send Richardson out there having to play from behind?
Lead them to that 7-0 lead. Is it going to be Marcus Mariota? Is it going to be Ian Book? Is it going to be Tanner McKee?
Ian who? Is he? I don't know. I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh. That's just wrong. I
know that's cold-hearted.
Mac,
but it's cold-hearted business.
Ed, your boy, Ed Kracz, disrespecting Ian Book right here. Ian,
all right.
Ed Kracz said Ian who about the Eagles' third quarterback.
We'll,
save that. Put that up on Twitter today, Xander. I want that up on Twitter. Ed Kracz says Ian who for Eagles' third.
Now you're going to get Ed in trouble.
If you're going to put that up, then please put up Sam Howell was my favorite quarterback coming in the draft.
Yeah,
here he is, starting quarterback of the Commanders.
Go back and find those Sam Howell's going to kick some ass quotes. Yep. You had them. We got them
the real ones before the real question at Kratzy. Make sure you follow Ed on X, si.com/NFL/Twitter. Give me 5 guys you want to watch tonight that are going to play, which isn't basically the back end guys. You got maybe
Evans. Evans is one, right? I mean, you got to see how he's going to acclimate. Maybe, hopefully, they challenge him in the pass game, and we can see how he holds up there. I want to see the slot cornerbacks. I mean, who's going to play slot now that Zach McPherson's out? Mario Goodrich? I mean, I'd like to see Mario Goodrich tonight as well. Maybe Josiah Scott. I know they've played him a lot at safety, but he's a slot corner by trade with some experience. So, I'll be keeping an eye on those 2 guys. I want to see Janarius Robinson. I know he's got really no chance to probably make this roster, but they're giving him a lot of snaps in these last 2 games, and he's doing pretty well. I think if they cut him, somebody's going to take him. Somebody's going to pick him up. But I want to see Janarius Robinson, see if he can come out and win a spot. Even Patrick Johnson, who had the ankle injury, the scary ankle injury that carted him off. I want to keep an eye on him. See how, if he has a chance to make this
Jody asked earlier, I want to get your – Zach Cunningham, does he play tonight? Or is he already in the deference camp?
I think he plays. The Eagles linebacking situation is not real deep. So I think you have to give him some reps to get through the game. I mean, you don't want to go with Ben Van Sumeren for
why not? Play him the whole
60
game.
Snaps.
Ben Van Sumeren.
What if
he's athletic enough. He can handle
it. Who else do you have? They signed a guy with 3 names. I can't remember who it is.
Yeah, it's from Rutgers. I got to look him up.
Guy.
Another
maybe
Tyreek Maddox Williams.
There you go. Maybe he's somebody that will play a lot tonight.
Also, they signed Robert Cooper and Caleb Sanders on the defensive line. These are the people you're going to see tonight. So make sure you tune into Amazon.
Yeah,
get there early.
Yeah. What are their numbers? Do you know what their numbers are?
Robert Cooper is 64. Caleb Sanders is 67. The great TMW, I've already given him the 3 initials, is 46. 46.
Okay.
That's big.
All right, good. Yeah, those are guys that are going to play, but they're not the guys I'm going to be watching. To be honest, I'm going to be, watching a few other guys.
Oh, come on, Tyreek Maddox-Williams. He's a Rutgers kid.
Sorry, but I think Cunningham will play some snaps. Yeah, although it was pretty scary. They lost 6 guys. They got 6 guys banged up against the Browns. That might be in the back of Nick's head.
I think we
got to bubble wrap all our guys.
Justin Evans. Those are like, does Justin Evans play at all, or has he made such a push late in the summer that they say, you know what, he's a part of this team? That's the kind of stuff I'm interested in.
Yeah,
like the more you play tonight, the worse it is for you. That's how I tend to
agree with that, and that's why we questioned the last game with their safety. Who was out there till late playing?
Kayvon.
Kayvon playing till the 4th quarter did not look good. That was a bad look for Kayvon. All right, Eddie, we got to wrap this up. I'm going to finish it up with an under-over. Are you ready?
Yep.
Under-over 1/2 15-yard penalty taken by Derek Barnett.
I'm going to go under. I don't think Barnett's playing today.
I'm going under. Definitely.
You don't think he's going to play?
No, I don't. I think Barnett's on this team firmly.
Yeah.
I think Barnett's going to have a decent year. Mark it down.
Darius Robinson's going to play, but Derek Barnett gets deference.
I wrote about Barnett this week. Jeremiah Washburn was just raving about him. Yeah. There is a disconnect between
I'm
the
going
fan
over.
base and the
He's going to get a 15-yard penalty. Unnecessary roughness.
You got that in the joint practice.
Misconduct. You're going to get something. Mark it down. I go. Kracz is going under. McDonald's going over on the 15-yard penalty for Barnett tonight.
The only way he gets it is if he's on the sidelines and Jason Huntley, our old friend Jason Huntley, now the running back with the Colts, runs to the sideline and Derek Barnett clotheslines him.
And that's a possibility. Don't discount that, Ed Kracz. It could happen.
That is a possibility. That's a good point by Ed. That's the way
I'm still going under. I'm still taking the under.
That means I would be cashing that one.
Yeah. All right.
Eddie Kracz, we love cashing in on your insight. Thanks for doing it.
Thanks, guys.
Game Day Kracz, always a pleasure.
Thanks.
Enjoy the game. See ya.
Eddie Kracz here with us on Birds 360.
Enjoy the game. I don't know if that's possible.
He's McMullen. I'm McDonald. We'll come back, put a bow on the show.